And you didn't know where it was. You had to GPS it, right?
Yes.
And it was a kind of confusing layout when you got there because there's through roads and cul-de-sacs, right? You didn't know which one was leading to which end, right? Could have been a dead end, could have been a through street, but you didn't know. And you say you didn't drive by the house when you first got there. You went straight there and you parked the car to the right, right?
Yeah, it was straight there.
When you got there were people already out in the yard?
No.
Nobody was out in the yard? Huh? And you indicated to the folks in the group chat, we're here.
Yep.
And then people started coming out of the house, right?
Yes.
One person came out of the house, right?
Yes.
Quickly followed by a second person, right?
Yes.
Then a third person, right?
Yes.
Then a fourth person, right?
Yes.
A fifth, a sixth, a seventh, an eighth, right?
Yes.
At that point, you're outnumbered now, right?
Yes.
A ninth, a 10th, an 11th, a 12th, right?
Yes.
Now what are you starting to think in that car?
We're not going to be fighting anymore.
You're not going to be fighting anymore? Why not?
It didn't seem sensible at the time. It wasn't what we expected to see when we initially arrived, or were going to arrive.
You weren't in control of that situation at that point, were you?
No.
You drove all those folks over there, parked them. Wasn't what you expected, was it?
Nope.
It was getting scary, wasn't it?
It was.
It was getting terrifying, wasn't it?
It was.
You were worried about what was going to happen now, I bet.
It was.
How many people do you think ultimately came out of that car, out of that house?
Maybe 30, maybe a little bit more.
All came over to your car.
Yes.
7 of you in there and 30 on the outside, right?
Yes.
Surrounding the vehicle, right?
Yes.
And at first they came up to the driver's side, some of them, didn't they?
They did.
And you had your window down?
I had it cracked, I believe.
Cracked. Didn't want to put it the whole way down at that point, right? And people started coming up and started talking to you through the window, right?
Yes.
And you say at first that was peaceful.
I don't think it was peaceful at first when they all kind of walked up. Everyone was kind of screaming. I think I heard something along the lines of like, where's the kid who did this to me? I think it was someone from the parties or before.
That was Ryan Hines, right?
It could have been. I didn't see his face.
He spit at you?
Yes.
Did it make it into the car or just on the car?
I don't think it hit me, but I think it made it into the car.
There's people in front of the car.
There is.
There's people on both sides of the car.
It's true.
There's people behind the car.
True.
Some of those people get on the car.
That's possible. I don't remember anybody getting on top of the car.
Do you remember the car rocking?
I do.
Do you recall if somebody was on the back bumper jumping up and down?
It's possible, but I wasn't.
I'm going to overrule it. Thank you.
I wasn't really looking at the back of my car. I was kind of focused on what was going on in my area.
Why didn't you just drive away?
I did eventually, but I didn't want to, run anybody over. So I kind of started itching my car out a little bit, and then people started eventually making way. Yeah,
You couldn't just pull away, right? If you just pulled away, you'd have hit somebody who was standing directly in front of the car, right? You'd hit somebody who was on either side of you, possibly, right? There was lights on the street, but it was dark, right?
Yeah.
About 11 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
Misty, kind of rainy that evening.
Sounds about right.
People inside your car were terrified, weren't they?
Objection as to what other people were.
Sustained.
What was the demeanor from the people inside your car? What did that indicate to you?
They wanted to go home.
They didn't want to be there anymore, right?
Yeah.
They were terrified, right?
Most likely, yeah.
And you were thinking to yourself, oh my God, what have I gotten these folks into, right?
Yeah.
I brought all these people here. I'm the driver of this vehicle. I'm the one who put us here, right?
I think that's fair that I drove them there, yeah.
Well, Nobody could reach over and you wouldn't let them take the car from you and say, let me drive now, right?
Right, but I didn't drive anyone somewhere where they didn't want to be. And then I dropped them off at the end of the street and they wanted to go home.
Because Mackenzie Traficante wanted to go and get in a fight.
No, I think everyone was just kind of under the impression that they knew we were going to go meet a couple of kids to fight. No one really expected 30 people to walk out of the house.
Keenan Frasick knew that you were going to go get into a fight?
Objection to what Keenan.
Sustained.
Something about Keenan's demeanor indicated to you that he wanted to go along for a fight?
I think I made it pretty apparent before we got in the car that that's what we were going to do.
Something about Demetrius Arphanis' demeanor indicated to you that he wanted to go get into a fight?
Again, I think I told the people that getting into my car, that's what we were planning on doing.
You know Keenan?
I did.
How close were you to Keenan?
We weren't super close, we were teammates.
Teammates on the football team? Demetrius Arphanis, was he a teammate on the football team?
Yes, he was.
Let's hit the pause button on this really important testimony in this case and bring in our guest for this hour to analyze what we are seeing. Criminal defense attorney Jack Rice is here from Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Jack, I'm hearing some things that I know the defense is very happy is coming out, that we weren't in control, that it was getting scary, it was getting terrifying. 30 people came out of the house and they were rocking the car. They spit at me. I mean, this is what the defense wants to show in terms of their self-defense case. Are you surprised that this individual needed a plea deal in order to testify?
Well, I think that's really interesting when you look at what it was they're claiming that he did. And yet at the same time, I do understand that if you want me to testify and I was at this space, am I potentially a conspirator? Did I help get you there? Do I face potential exposure? And so if I were defending simply this witness, my response is I'd be fighting for that as well, because you don't want to say anything that can hurt you. And yet, Julia, when we think about what this cross-examination is doing, this is exactly what the defense wants. And remember, this is the state's witness. That's what makes this so incredibly important from the defense perspective. It is in the middle of the state's case. And what the state's trying to argue, big picture, is that this was an attack. And frankly, what the defense is trying to argue, and they're not saying these words, but as I'm watching this is what I keep saying, it's an ambush. It's an ambush when all of a sudden they show up and they're surrounded by 30 people. And what we have now is a self-defense, a legitimate self-defense, where you're trying to survive something like this. That's the argument the defense is trying to make. And through this witness, they're making it very effectively.
Sure. There are some things that the prosecution wanted to get from this witness that's helpful. Putting the knife in his hand, showing that he threw the knife away when he was leaving, perhaps consciousness of guilt. Your thoughts on the positives for why the prosecution would have wanted to bring them in the middle of their case?
No question about it. Sometimes, you know what, you're trying to take the sting out. You know that you've got problems from a witness. That person is coming in no matter what. And if you can control that person to some degree, you do that. Remember, every witness you put on the stand, and this cuts both directions, whether you're prosecution or defense, is that you're always trying to assess, what do they give me? What do they give me versus what they take from me? And in this case, what you get was an eyewitness. What you get was one of his friends. What you get is somebody who's saying it was in his hand. It was what he did with that weapon. And nobody else may be able to do that in quite that fashion. So you accept the risk, you accept the downside, because you feel like that upside is sufficient. And remember, if you don't call them, the other side will too. So that is always part of that assessment too.